For over 100 years, America's national parks have conserved the natural wonders of the country as they experience over 300 million visitors annually. White House correspondent Jenn Pellegrino caught up with Interior Secretary David Bernhardt.
Secretary of the Interior David Bernhardt, thanks so much for taking time to come out here today.
Well, thanks for being at a wonderful park today.
Tell us a little bit about where we're standing right now.
Well, we're standing on Theodore Roosevelt Island. It's a wonderful island right outside of D.C., and it provides a lot of recreational activity for the neighboring public, is highly visited, and of course has the iconic Theodore Roosevelt statue right here. It's an incredible island with an incredible history.
And for our viewers who don't know, tell us a little bit about Theodore Roosevelt and his work with conservation.
Well, at the Department of the Interior, there is no one president that's more legendary than the great Theodore Roosevelt, a New Yorker who took a wonderful view of natural conservationist and spent a great deal of time in the West. And as a result of that experience, he was informed by it, and when he was leading our country, made a number of very significant conservation initiatives, and in doing so, really set the framework for the great American conservation experience.
And Mr. Secretary, some 90+%, I believe, of the national parks remained open during the coronavirus pandemic. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. We worked very hard to ensure that our parks were accessible. That doesn't mean that we didn't close visitor centers or do things that we needed to do to make sure that we maintain safety for both our employees and the public. But we wanted the parks to be accessible. One of the best things you can do right now is get outside and spend time outdoors, walking around, experiencing the beauty of our national parks or other urban parks.
Tell us a little bit about the Great American Outdoors Act.
Well, the Great American Outdoors Act was a piece of legislation that the President signed just last week, and it is probably the most significant funding bill for conservation, certainly in my lifetime, and frankly, probably beyond. The reality is this legislation provides funding for our National Park Service and addressing the maintenance backlog, as well as $900 million a year forever to provide conservation funding through the Land and Water Conservation Fund.
$900 million a year, that's a lot of money. Is it enough? You have 419 national parks. What will that go towards in some of our parks? How bad was it prior to getting this funding?
Well, the President's bill provides a separate $1.5 billion for interior managed lands for the next 5 years to try and work to get on top of our maintenance backlog. And it's a tremendous down payment because America loves their national parks and public lands, but we have not taken care of the properties in the way we should by making the investments to ensure, just like your house, is stable and upgraded and painted. We've not done that in our national parks, and so they need some additional love, and they're about to get it big time.
And I think a lot of Americans know some of the major national parks. You think of Yosemite, Yellowstone. Tell us a little bit about some of the amazing parks we have across this country that Americans might not be so familiar with.
Well, the reality is we have over 400 units in the National Park Service, and each one of them tells a spectacular story or identifies a particular moment in history. And my personal favorite growing up as a kid was Mesa Verde National Park, which is a small park in western Colorado. And the reason it was so special to me is when I went there, I was inspired after being there to learn about the people who had actually lived in the cliff houses of Mesa Verde. And so our parks provide reflection, they provide inspiration, they also stimulate education. And so what I would say right now, particularly in the time we're in today, get out, go to a local park. I guarantee you'll enjoy it.
You know, you've spent a lot of one-on-one time with the President. Why was the Great American Outdoors Act so important to him?
Well, first off, I think the President, like many of us, completely loves this country and loves what the national parks stand for in terms of history, opportunity, inspiration. But the other thing about it is he recognizes, as a builder, as a developer, as a property manager, just how important it is for us to invest in ensuring that these places are protected and managed responsibly for future generations.
Secretary, thank you so much for taking time to be here.
Thanks a lot for having us.